For 2 long, bloody years, the very sound of an aircraft engine over occupied Europe brought one feeling: fear. But for the pilots of the Luftwaffe, that sound brought only confidence. From the Battle of Britain to the opening phases of the Eastern Front, they were masters. Their pilots, the Experten, led the world in aerial combat doctrine and kill counts. To them, the war in the air was an established hierarchy, and Germany sat firmly at the top. The Allied air forces, particularly the US 8th Air Force, were hemorrhaging aircraft and crews over Germany. Their heavy bombers could not reach their targets without fighter escorts, but the American escort fighters simply lacked the range to cross the heart of the Reich. This created the infamous dead zone, a killing ground over central Germany where the Luftwaffe could intercept the bombers with impunity. Every German pilot knew the drill: wait for the American little friends to turn back, and then the sky belonged to them. This calculated advantage was the source of their confidence and, frankly, their laughter. The first sign that the air war was changing came not from a fighter, but from a bomber, one that was not only unarmed, but was made almost entirely of wood. The British de Havilland Mosquito was met with derision. Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, reportedly sneered at the idea of a combat aircraft made of plywood and balsa, calling it a carpenter's dream, a weak, flimsy target. But the Mosquito was the ultimate expression of speed over armor. Its twin Rolls-Royce Merlin engines, the same ones that powered the Spitfire, combined with its incredibly light, smooth wooden airframe, made it a legend. It could reach speeds of up to 425 miles per hour, a speed untouchable by the vast majority of German fighters. It was the fastest combat aircraft in the world at the time. The laughter truly died on September 25, 1942. A flight of Mosquitoes flew a daring low-level daylight raid deep into German-occupied territory to bomb the Gestapo headquarters in Oslo, Norway. It was an act of precision and psychological warfare. When the scramble order went out, German fighters, including the powerful Focke-Wulf FW-190, chased the attackers. The reports that came back to High Command were sobering. We could not close the distance. They simply could not catch the wooden bomber. The Mosquito became a ghost. It flew reconnaissance missions high over German airfields, its crews reportedly taunting German pilots on the radio. It flew low over Berlin in broad daylight to disrupt propaganda broadcasts. It was the ultimate humiliation, an unarmed wooden aircraft making a mockery of German air defense. The German response was desperate, diverting crucial resources to develop highly specialized, stripped-down interceptors, but they were always a step behind the uncatchable Mosquito. The war in the air was now demanding specialized, expensive, and often ineffective solutions to a problem the Allies created with speed and cunning.
The second threat, the one that would prove to be the existential killer, was the American P-51 Mustang. Like the Mosquito, it started as a joke to the Luftwaffe. North American Aviation initially delivered the fighter with an American Allison engine. At low altitudes, it was adequate, but in the thin, high air where bomber escorts truly fought, the Allison-powered Mustang was sluggish, underpowered, and easily outmaneuvered by the Bf-109. German pilots saw it, easily swatted it aside, and dismissed it as a negligible threat. But the British, who had initially commissioned the aircraft, recognized the potential in the Mustang's revolutionary airframe. Its long, sleek, low-drag profile was perfect. Its flaw was solely the engine. The fix was a bold, transatlantic decision: put the same powerful, two-stage supercharged Rolls-Royce Merlin engine into the P-51. This modification, a foreign engine in an American design, created one of the greatest fighter aircraft in history, the P-51B and P-51D Mustang. The Mustang was now fast at altitude, incredibly agile, and boasted a heavy 6-gun armament. But the real game-changer was its range. Through ingenious design, including self-sealing fuel tanks in the wings and a large internal fuel bay, the Mustang could now fly a round trip from its base in England, escorting bombers all the way to Berlin or even beyond, and still have enough fuel to fight. The dead zone was closed. The confident strategy of the Luftwaffe was instantly obsolete. The decisive moment arrived on January 11, 1944. The 8th Air Force launched a massive 1,000-plane strike on key German aircraft factories, targets deep in the industrial heartland. The German fighter wings scrambled, anticipating the familiar turnback point. But this time, the escort didn't leave. The sleek, deadly Mustangs stayed with the bombers mile after mile, deeper into the Reich than any fighter had flown before. The shock for the German pilots was immediate and terrifying. They were suddenly forced to fight a battle of their enemies' choosing, not their own. The Mustangs were not only present, they were superior. Pilots reported that the new Mustang could climb faster and dive harder than their own Bf 109. The most chilling realization, however, was psychological. There was no safe zone left. Every target, every factory, every city was now under the protection of the Mustang.
This revelation led directly to the Allies' final brutal strategy, Tirpitz duty. The goal was no longer merely to protect the bombers, but to systematically annihilate the Luftwaffe itself. Mustang squadrons were given the freedom to roam, engaging German fighters the moment they took off, and even strafing them on their own airfields. They were hunting the enemy's aircraft, and more importantly, its pilots. The casualty rate for the Luftwaffe became unsustainable. They were losing pilots, trained, experienced, experten, faster than their training academies could replace them. Unlike the Allies, who had a deep reserve of pilots and a steady supply of aircraft, the Germans were consuming their most vital resource. The loss of 100 victory ace was an irreplaceable blow to morale and capability. The pressure was relentless. Every successful interception of a bomber formation now meant a desperate life-or-death duel with a Mustang. By the time of the D-Day landings in June 1944, the Luftwaffe was a shadow of its former self, unable to mount any meaningful opposition to the Allied invasion fleet or the aircraft overhead. The skies over Normandy were so completely dominated by Allied air power that German troops often had to move only under the cover of darkness. The final, devastating tally tells the story of the Mustang's impact. The P-51 alone is officially credited with shooting down over 4,950 enemy aircraft in the air, a figure that doesn't even account for the hundreds more destroyed on the ground during Tirpitz duty. This single aircraft, initially ridiculed by German pilots, was directly responsible for eliminating nearly 5,000 of their planes and effectively crushing their air force. The de Havilland Mosquito and the P-51 Mustang, two incredible aircraft that solved two different strategic problems. The Mosquito used its speed and stealth to shatter the German sense of security. The Mustang used its range and firepower to destroy the German fighter force physically and psychologically. Together, they closed the dead zone, wiped the Luftwaffe from the sky, and paved the way for the end of the war in Europe. The confident laughter of the German aces was replaced forever by the terrifying high-pitched whistle of the Merlin engine in a diving Mustang. If you found this historical deep dive compelling, please subscribe to W2 Stories.